going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Weigh-In Podcast. Today I'm joined by my co-host, partner in crime, Sugar Ray. How you doing, man?
Doing all right, thank you. A lot of night of fights, so very tiring, morning, but morning. But listen, man, it's been a long day, starting from early yesterday. So yeah, it's all been good. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I think I said to you off air, I went to sleep at 8 o'clock because after the UFC and boxing and it's straight to F1. And I was like, right now I've got to get like 3-4 hours in. But before we start, what do you think about the new rebranding that we managed to do?
Yeah, listen, it's slick, man. It's slick, man. People in the comments, let us know how you liking the nice little rebrand. You know, sometimes you got to switch up a bit, let people know what you're on. So no, I'm liking it, man. Nice, slick, simple, does the job.
I was gonna say shout out Ash for that as well.
Shout out Ash, man.
All of the graphics, all of this good stuff. But yeah,
sure.
Like you said, yesterday we had what I would call DAZN's Day of Boxing. Because they kind of just headlined everything, and it started off. Well, I'm gonna say this, put it on record, not for atmosphere. But every fight needs to happen in Japan going forward. This is amazing. This is 1 o'clock. I was going to say have my lunch or breakfast, but I'm fasting, so I can't even do that. But I can just wake up and be ready.
I get the sentiment.
And we're good. So, like, just for public service announcement, Japan is the way forward for people like us to watch fights when there's nothing much else to do. But, yeah, let's start with that. Triple G made his return against Murata, and it ended with a stoppage in the 9th round.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, now he goes ahead at the age of 40, becoming unifying belts. What did you make of Triple G's performance? And were you, I guess, excited by how he performed throughout the fight?
I think he turned back the clocks of time, just showing like his durability and bludgeoning power was still there. So, well, first thing first, especially you saying about it being in Japan, two things. One, loving the time difference, because that was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for us. So that was just perfect. And then two, yeah, Japan is just like, for many people that's never watched like sporting events in Japan, the crowds are very different in how they approach and how they cheer for things, very respectful. And especially me being an MMA guy, if you knew your MMA back in the day, you watch Pride, and you'll see how some of the greatest MMA shows were in Japan. So it was nice seeing a big event. Also, I don't know if people have watched Hajime no Ippo, is a Japanese boxing anime. So it's kind of like nice to get that real life feel. So that's to not get off track though. Triple G, man, he looked good. Well, he celebrated his 40th birthday the day before, if I remember, on the weigh-in day.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think he becomes the second person after Bernard Hopkins to unify the division on 40 years old or after. So he's made history with that fight. And man, you know, he started off a bit slow in the fight. Murata was getting in there, making it rough and everything. And then later down the line, the bludgeoning blows from Triple G was just getting Murata and hitting him until the 9th round. And it's just like, I think he hit him with a hook, and then Murata just turned around, and thankfully and mercifully his corner threw in a white towel. But man, what a fight from Triple G. Still worried a bit if he goes to fight Canelo, but if he wants that big payday, man, listen, power to him, man, go for it.
I was gonna say, like, I think the turning point a lot of people allude to is the mouthpiece. When it was in the 5th round, I want to say the mouthpiece.
Yeah, when you knocked out his mouth. Yeah.
What? Just quickly on that, because I feel like some referees don't stop the fight to put the mouthpiece back. It's like, we'll just carry on. I think this ref kind of realized, if I don't stop this and put the mouthpiece back in, like, we could get some damage.
That's a lot of dental fees, and trust me, as someone who's just paid for
Triple G to be like, okay, I've got this. I've still got.
That's the wrong type of power you want to be getting punched. I was going to say without your gum shield in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was that initiative.
Yeah, for sure. I think though, like the ref done well to officiate it. It was a good fight. It was a good scrap. I think it allowed Triple G to get a lot of the rust off of just being inactive for so long. And it was a good I think it was a good setup fight for Triple G. to fight Canelo. I still would have preferred if he faced Big Charlo to unify the division more, or Andrade, but there's politics behind that. So
I was
I
going to
was,
say that. Let's take politics aside and
yeah,
semi-fantasy book this. On
yeah,
one hand, you've got, I guess, probably the bigger fight, the trilogy, which we don't really see now in boxing with
yeah,
Canelo. And then on the other hand, you've got title fights with Charlo and Andrade.
yeah.
If you are Triple G, which is the better option? Because obviously we know what you get with Canelo, but then you get the prestige of title belts by going for these fights on the other side.
What I think happens is that Triple G is gonna face Canelo because I think is also Triple G in his heart of hearts, even though he might be past it, he honestly felt like he beat Canelo the first two times. Obviously, the first time a lot of consensus was he beat him, and Golden Boy, oiled up the hands of some judges. The second fight was a pick 'em fight. And I feel like even though people are going into this thinking Canelo's going to wash him in this fight, I think for Triple G, this is more like a redemption fight for him. He just wants to know. I think it's a case of obviously one is a big money fight, but I think two is just like if I lose, let it be honorably, but don't rob me type of thing. And I think it still haunts him that he was robbed by Canelo, and then seeing the heights that Canelo went to, I would feel a way if I was him as well. Because yeah, like I said, the first two fights you could argue that Triple G won, especially the first one that they said was a draw. So I think he just wants to like close the chapter on this book, get paid, and then whether win or lose, he can still go fight Andrade or possibly Charlo. I'd prefer him to face Charlo. I think that'd be a very good fight for Charlo to get that against Triple G. And then Andrade's situation, I know he's moving up to super middle because he wants the Canelo fight, but I feel bad for Andrade because I feel like with him, he's a high risk, low reward. Hence why he's been struggling to get these title fights. And it's, yeah, they're on the same platform as well. That's the fight that should have been pushed. But when you're not a commercial draw the way Andrade is, you're not going to get things in your favor, unfortunately. And that's just the politics of the game.
And I guess like for boxing overall, is it a good thing that we see a 40-year-old Triple G still being able to do what he can do? Or is it and this is what I'm going to ask, or is it a bit of a bad look because you can be 40 but you can still go win another title and you can still show that power? Does it show that the next crop isn't as strong as we need to be?
I think is more on Triple G still showing he's in good shape and in decent. Let me not say decent because that's disrespectful. Despite the fact that he's not in his prime, he's still in good stead. And I feel like with Triple G, I think he's probably like he knows he's still got a bit of juice still left in him, and he just wants to leave the game knowing that he still went for it. And I hear it because he's not. It's different if he was at a case of like he's just getting beat up every match, and he's way past it, but he's not. He's still looking good. I think the time off has helped him preserve himself. And I feel like he's probably still got like maybe one or two, maybe three pushing it big fights left in him. So this is the point of your career where it's like, listen, man, cash out, get all the big fights, that's why him not wanting to face Andrade, I get it, because at this point of your career, it's like, no, you need to get as much money as possible. And titles do matter, legacy does matter, but at the end of the day, you're a prize fighter. Get the biggest prize that you can get, and if that comes with a title as well, go for it. So
I was going to say, as long as you realize and you don't have management like someone like Danny Williams, where I'm sure you've seen that clip. Like I don't know how, I don't know when, or who is still saying to this guy, "Get what you mean." I'm on side, but then I just personally also think if you take that Canelo fight, seeing how Canelo can, I don't know if you've seen the picture of him at light heavyweight. Like I don't know how he does this, where he goes up, he fluctuates so much, but he still looks like a big guy. I don't know how he does it. That's kind of my worry. But on returns, we did also have the return of Ryan Garcia yesterday night. And this is what I'll say about the performance. I thought the speed is still there. Still punches with a lot of what's the word?
Pop.
No, not power. When you punch a lot in one go, volume, not volume.
Volume, yes.
Still got the volume of punches. There's no real jab, which is what they alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for me, I was just a bit disappointed that he couldn't end the fight.
Yeah.
Saying that the person he fought was kind of just fighting on the back foot. It was kind of a thing where Canelo brings out that payday route thing.
Yeah.
This was his payday to be like, look,
payday. Listen, man.
12 rounds with Ryan Garcia. And I thought, as a fight, as a comeback, it needed the knockout for me to be more excited.
Yeah.
Because as the fight got on, like the over and under in the fight, it was like the people didn't expect the fight to go over 5 rounds. So for it to go 12, for me, kind of puts a dampener on Ryan Garcia's return.
Yeah. I think it's a weird one. I'm going to be biased, people. I am, because Tagoe is a country member from GH, so I'm happy he didn't get knocked out. But yeah, Ryan Garcia really needed it. But at the same time, I think, like I discussed with you pre-show, was I feel like Ryan Garcia needed the rounds. He needed the rounds in the ring. Unfortunately for him, he needed the rounds, but they didn't look spectacular. Because sometimes there are situations where there's fighters that are like, I'm not really going to go for the KO. However, I'm still going to go in there, show off new tricks and everything. We didn't really see nothing too new from him. Yeah, he got the knockdown, but it was expected. And I just felt like there was still much to be desired from Ryan Garcia in that fight. But I mean, it was a good thing. He needed that. Like, I think Zab Judah even said, like, I think Zab Judah was like saying that Ryan Garcia needs more fights like that. He needs like 1 or 2 more just to, get him sharp again, get him feeling it again, because you can tell that he's not really where he needs to be. He also needs to build his name up a bit more. So whether it's a case of the same way what Eddie Hearn's doing with Conor Ben, I think you might need to do that with Ryan Garcia, just build him up a bit, get him a certified lightweight name that might be a bit past it, might want a payday. And I remember Eddie Hearn mentioning Maxi Hughes in the UK and bringing Ryan Garcia here. So that might be a good showcase fight. And because obviously for now, all the belts are locked up. So for Ryan Garcia, there's 2 options. It's either keep on fighting just to get your name out there, look spectacular, build up your brand more, or the Tank Davis fight, which I don't think he'll take.
I was going to say, so this is the thing that was quite interesting. At the end, the post-fight interview, they talked about Davis, and he literally alluded to it. He goes, I'm not going to speak on fights going forward. I'm going to let my team do that, because every time I do, something happens.
That's the right thing to do. I think he's learned his lesson.
I was going to say, on that though, does that kind of push the boat out to say, look, I kind of want these fights, but I don't want to speak on it because somebody else doesn't want that fight against me?
Nah, I think, you know what? Ryan Garcia is not looked at in the best of light, because if you remember, he was supposed to be the mandatory for Devin Haney. Then he turned down the Devin Haney fight, even though it's mandatory. And then he went to face Jojo Diaz. Then he was supposed to face Jojo Diaz. Then obviously after that, he went on his break for his mental health, fair enough. But then he came back chatting rubbish. Yeah, but then he came back chatting rubbish on Devin Haney. And it's just like, don't chat rubbish on the guy that you literally had a mandatory title shot with. Like, you literally could have got that belt. So I think now he's probably learned that, you know what, it's best to stay silent for a bit, because he's not looked in the best of light calling, but he's called out a whole bunch of people and it just didn't work out well. Especially like the Tank one might have been a network issue, but the Devin Haney one was like, you both literally fight on the zone and you're mandatory. That fight was there for the taking if you really wanted it, and you didn't. And now look at Haney's going for undisputed. So I think Garcia got to decide, does he want to be a celebrity fighter or does he want to fight for the belts? And if he wants to fight for the belts, yeah, it is a case of put up, shut up, get your fights in, look impressive, build up your resume, and then listen, End of the year, you never know. It might be speaking different and be saying if he takes that fight with Maxi Hughes in the UK, maybe summertime. End of the year, we might be saying we want him to face Tank. So we'll see how it
I was gonna
goes.
say, like, just quickly on before we do wrap up, how
Yeah.
many fights does Ryan Garcia how many fights does Ryan Garcia need to have gets per year to be classed as an active fighter? You see, like sometimes we see some fighters have literally that one fight
Yeah.
max. Are we looking at Garcia to be like, okay, you need to work to get 3 fights a year to be that guy, or is it 2 and we are good?
Nah, 3 fights. He's not at the level to be. 2 fights a year are for the high level people that need,
Canelos and stuff, yeah.
that need extensive training camps to prep for fighters. I think that's why when people get to the highest level and everyone's just like, oh, you only fight once or twice a year, it's because the money and time taken to prep for a high level guy takes more time. Whereas Ryan Garcia, you're like facing people that's not at that high level for you to be needing to take so much time out to prep and everything, especially with the amount of time off as well. Now's the best time. Maybe get 2 more fights in this year, get your name out there, and then by the end of 2022, you can have the same hype that you had going into. Was it 2020 when you beat Luke Campbell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to get to that point again where you beat a reputable name that people are like, okay, I want to see Ryan Garcia. Because right now, other than he's got his like social media fame, but in terms of like boxing and sports fame, people aren't clamoring to see him. So he needs to build up again. And that's why I
Yeah.
said he needs to realize, do you want to be a celebrity fighter or do you want to be in a competitive sport fighter?
See, I still class him as a competitive sport fighter, but
Yeah.
this is where I'm not going to say he'd go down the celebrity route, but if he appeared on any of these celebrity cards or anything like that, then I'm going to look at him a bit differently. Like, I know, like, he's with the zone and stuff, so if they're going to do something, it's going to be of value. Like, even like, because like how Eddie Hearn had like the KSI stuff that had proper production, then you look at the rest, they're a bit poor. But if Ryan Garcia appeared on one of these type of cards, then I'm gonna put him in that celebrity bracket.
I won't even, because the way I say it, when I call him celebrity fighter, it's not that he's gonna fight a YouTuber or something, but it's more that you're not fighting no one competitive and you're just like living off of your social media fame rather than actual sporting accolades. And I think that's where he needs to. That's what I'm saying. He needs to choose between: do you want to be a social media fighter or celebrity fighter, where it's just like, yeah, you got your social media fame and you're always going to get a certain crowd after you, or do you want to bring both worlds together in terms of the sporting competitive set and the celebrity and merge it together? And that's where he was at 2020 when he beat Luke Campbell. Now he's lost that and needs to rebuild. He needs also more time with his new trainer. So I say take that fight with Maxi Hughes in the UK and
get it promoted. Well, it's definitely doable, like you said. But with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode. As always, before we go, if you are enjoying the Weigh In podcast, why not hit that like button, share, and subscribe? Hit us up on all our social media channels. There they are, the right _ the Weigh In _ the Twitter and the Instagram page. And as always, if you are enjoying the content, you know what to do. Hashtag or STAYWEIGHEDIN. Ray, before we wrap up, any final words?
Listen, man, this year's gonna ramp up to be a lot of good boxing. So people, put your money where your mouth is. A lot of people over the years that always complain that boxing is losing or boxing is not what it used to be. This year is ramping up to be that year that you guys have been clamoring about. So stay weighed in, interact with us, interact with the boxing community, show your love to these fighters, and let's keep the ball rolling.
And with that, that's another episode of the Weigh In podcast. Appreciate always, Ray. Everyone,
Love,
love and
love,
peace.
love.